Welcome to Morning Coach today. I am so glad you're with us. Hey, it's JB. I hope you're doing fantastic as we are getting ready to start August. It is August 1st, 2022, Monday. God, I love it when a month starts on a Monday. It just gives us the ability to kind of get organized and recharge and restart with everything. We're going to talk about this month really on focus on really getting positive and being a little more optimistic. I know most people that, are morning coach, quote unquote, people that you come here, you listen, you're typically more positive than most, right? But the truth is we all can use some help with that. So this month we're going to be talking about confidence, assertiveness, optimism, positivity, happiness, validation. As we continue to rock and roll with that, it's going to be fun. We're going to, get this week into positivity and optimism. Then we're going to talk about some happiness next week, and then how to get what you want, being more assertive and building self-confidence, and then even going back to the last week, understanding some external validation. So we've got a huge month planned for you. And this week, we got a big week. We've got positivity and optimism today. We've got Living Untethered part 5 tomorrow. As you know, we're getting into the book, and I got to talk about that today. Wednesday, we're going to talk about positivity being contagious. Thursday, of course, answer your questions. Friday, we've got positive cash flow. We could all use that. Saturday, staying positive ideas. And then finally, Sunday, we got spiritual positivity. So as you could tell, it's definitely a positivity week that I'm excited about. And let's get into it. I mean, why the heck would you want to be positive anyways? Well, I got a couple things for you on that. The first one is my mentor and somebody that really affected my life was Zig Ziglar. We've talked about that before, how Zig was such a big part of my life. And reading See You at the Top, probably when I was 16 or 17 years old, I was in a health class and somebody brought in that book, and it was one of those weird health class / physical fitness classes, and they brought See You in the Top in, and I just got into that book. I the only other books I really read was Dungeons and Dragons and D&D books, but I got into that book, and there was so much in there, and it just really made my heart ring, and Zig used to say this. He used to say, you may not be able to do everything you want to do in your life, being positive, but you will do everything better in your life if you're positive more than if you're negative. And it made so much sense to me back then because he gave some stories, and it's kind of like if I wanted to play basketball and wanted to play for the NBA at 53 years old, no matter how positive I thought about it, there's absolutely no way that I'm going to play in the NBA at 53 years old. It's just a fact. And people say, well, there's nothing impossible. Yes, that is impossible. There's no 53-year-old, 5'9", 160-pound guys running around out there. They're just not, right? That's impossible. But if I thought positive about the situation and wanting to play basketball, maybe I'd go into coaching, or I could be involved in the sport, or I could do something with it. So it's not that this positivity is, the be-all, end-all, that just being positive is going to allow you to do everything in your life. What Zig taught me at that early age was it's going to make you do things better in your life. And so a lot of times we tend to get really negative on things, and then all of a sudden, it causes issues. Now, it sometimes it's good to get a little negative and think about things. Last Thursday, I talked about the new house. The reason the new house came to light is because I was laying in bed and I started to get a little negative on the situation, meaning I was looking at the money I was going to spend and how much of the investment was going to be in this house in order for me to do what I needed to do. And as I sat there and looked at it, I said, gosh, you know what? I could get a different place that's actually better for the same amount of money. And I was evaluating it. So if I would have just been myopic and stayed just tremendously positive on this is going to be the best situation. This is, going to work out. I would never been open to some new ideas. So we don't want to, I think this is where we get into Singer's work a little bit that we're diving into so heavily, is that you've got to be open to the reality of the day that presents itself. So sometimes you're overly positive, you're not able to see what is actually going on and shift. So it's not the thing that you're getting negative. It's just a matter of understanding and being aware, being that observer or that witness consciousness of what's really going around. But we still go back to the understanding that if we do anything positive, if we do things positive, right, we're going to do it better than if we go at it from a negative standpoint. And that's really, really what we want to look at. Also, Michael Singer in the work, and we're going to get into it tomorrow a little bit because we're in part 5, but he really goes over this aspect of switching the mental thought process to a little more positive. And this is important because it's come up in many areas in my life. And one of those reasons we're going to talk about this tomorrow. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but the heart blockages. We're going to get into the emotion and energy and flow and a little bit deep, but that energy and flow is flowing. And if you're blocking that with samskaras or you're blocking that with negative energy, what happens is you're not able to feel the love. You're not able to feel that unconditional love that's just unbelievable, or have the energy to really go out there and do the things that you want to do. And so Singer teaches us that one of those ways to do that is to start seeing the world in a more optimistic, more positive state. And again, I mentioned that years ago I read another book by Lynn Grabhorn, and in that book, she had what was called the flip switch technique. Same thing Michael Singer's kind of telling us, that when you start to feel something negative in your life, or, it's a mental thought process, as we know, we have the outside world influencing us. We have the thoughts that we're having and then the emotions. When you start to observe things and you start to feel that negative energy, what you could do is you could flip it to something more positive. And that's what Lynn Grabhorn taught me years ago, was to change it to something. And she called it the flip switch. And I actually, that's where the Morning Coach wristbands came from, where you can snap them. By the way, they're up in the store now. I don't have the ability to send them, so don't order them for another month. Just saying. But you can snap them. And that's where the Always Positive wristband came from, is being able to snap it and really flip the way that you're thinking about the day, right? And being able to flip it, or whatever the situation is, and to think a little more positive about it. So that's what we've got to do, is understand this idea of positivity. And it's tough. I get it. Even, you say, well, you're just being myopic, and just trying to be positive. No, you have to have a positive outlook. As you know, there's multiple businesses out there, and over the years, we've had all kinds of things happen to us over the years. And typically when the legal stuff gets going, which is not fun, and nobody wants to have that, and you get something going on, whether it's a lawsuit or some tax issue, right? It's just not fun. And you start having that come into your life, it's really easy to go right to the negative and not be optimistic and just see all the negative things that could occur by this happening, right? And you start to think, oh my gosh, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. And that's that negative flow that we have to stop. But we just can't get to the point where we're just myopic and we just walk around thinking, well, everything's going to be perfect, because that's just not the reality of things. I'm not saying not to be excited and happy about life and energetic about life, but I am telling you that in those negative times, it's really hard. And you got to step back sometimes, just go breathe and just kind of say, okay, maybe I do need to kind of make some changes in my life and focus on the positive, and maybe get some professionals to help you and just, deal with what you're dealing with. But understanding that, you're going to start to really understand that this is a very important part. And we're going to understand that, the positivity unlocks the heart. And as we get into Singer's work, that's a really critical thing, because it's going to help you become more positive in your life, and you're going to have more left brain buy-in. Again, I think when you start talking about positivity and optimistic, you kind of think of Stuart Smalley back in the days on Saturday Night Live. I'm happy, kind of that cheesy happiness. Every day is positive, and life is just fantastic, and everything is roses, and but that's not the reality of it. The reality of it is that life is an experience, and I think that's a different aspect of life, and the way you perceive the experience is going to be such a big part of it. And it's why we really get on the 7 Ps. The 7 Ps, of course, are, as a reminder, you can grab it in Discord or send an email to info@morningcoach.com if you want the JPEG, that you number one, you've got to have the proper perspective. I look at that every day. And with that proper perspective, we're going to add an 8th P, positive, right? So when you have that proper perspective, you realize that you have the ability to do the things you need to do. And when we lose perspective is when we get emotional and frustrated, as we're going to learn, and we close off that energy that we have, and we're going to learn that from Singer, right? So the first P is, getting the right perspective as you go out in life. Understand what you have and your ability to do the things that you want to do. The second thing is to set daily priorities. Of course, this is Sacred 6. But having the priorities of the things that you want to do are so critical, and really, really, really understanding those priorities are so important, and having the right things in order that you are doing every morning is so critical. And then we want to improve our performance. We want to keep the performance good, keep getting better at the things that we do, get the coaches, the mentors, the people that are going to help us do that. Have patience as we go forward and do this. I know we all want things to happen immediately, but you got to be patient as you're doing this. get the great posture, feel good about it, stay present in life, understanding the moment, understanding that observer or witness consciousness, and then persist. Those are our 7 Ps. And now we add the 8th today, positive. So we don't need to add the 8th, but that's kind of just an underlying principle of all of this, right? That we need to stay there. So when we do that, we are focused on the basics that are going to keep us moving forward in life and doing the things that we need to do. And when we fall out of that, which happens to me a lot, you tend to get negative and things don't work out the way they do. You tend to get very emotional. At least I do. One of the reasons that I really focus on not drinking is because it's not the drinking itself that's the problem. For me, it's the hangxiety, they call it. The next 3 or 4 days where the guilt is overwhelming and I just feel really bad and my body just doesn't operate properly. And it's more of a mental area and it's hard for me to gain perspective and I get really emotional and it just drags me down. It's like a boat anchor. And so for me, I'm better off staying away because it affects my positivity. It affects my ability to get the right perspective and it affects my ability to feel energetic and good and be able to really make a difference out there. So as we go forward today and this week, what we got to start thinking about is, what can I do to really affect my positivity in life? If you don't have a always positive wristband on you, then what I would do is grab a rubber band and I would wear that rubber band, and that rubber band reminds you to be positive, and you just snap it if you ever get a negative thought in your brain. And what I would do is as you work throughout the day, you're snapping that. A lot of times people are going to ask you, why do you wear a rubber band on your wrist? And you say, well, it helps me stay positive. And every time I'm negative, I'll smack it. And that actually helps remind you again to be a little more positive. A lot of times people will laugh and you'll joke a little bit about it. And then they'll say, well, gosh, if I was wearing that on my wrist, I would be, I'd have welts all up and down my arm. And it's kind of funny when that happens because it kind of creates positivity for everybody. And again, positivity is contagious. It's a wonderful thing to have as we go out there and live our life. And I think as we get older, we get psychosis and we get more negative energy in our life. And, we just start thinking about so many things that we quit enjoying what life really is, right? And so what I would tell you as we go out there today is that we be a little more childlike, be a little more innocent in the way that you approach life and not get so jaded. I know it's dark and I know that there are many opportunities for you to fall into that pit of darkness, but to lift yourself up and be a little more childlike and be a little more playful and really, really see the sun come up and recognize the fact that no matter how dark it is, that the sun always does come up. There may be clouds. It may be, a little bit more cloudy than normal. I'm up here in Indiana, and when it gets cloudy. It gets gray. It's not even dark. It's just gray, right? But one day that sun peeks through, and it's just a wonderful thing. And, if you're going through some cloudiness or you're going through some darkness, I think the first thing you need to understand is you're not alone. Recognize that we're here for you. And, whether you don't feel it or maybe you kind of, are like, well, gosh, you're just on this podcast. No, I'm here for you and we're here for you. And that energy is always flowing, right? And the second thing is you just got to step back and really get that perspective and realize that, hey, if it's dark, one little match can end the darkness. One match can strike. You just need the right inspiration. You need the right kind of strike of that flint on that match to allow it to spark. And all of a sudden that light starts to glow in the darkness. You light a few candles up and now you're starting to get into more light, and then the day comes, right? And the sun comes out and now you're living life again. So we all have our battles. We all have the things that we're going through. But if we can be a little more positive, as we started with, as Zig says, if I'm just a little more positive, everything in life is a little bit better. Everything in life is a little bit easier. And though I can't do everything I want by being positive in my life, I can do most things better. And that's what we really want to focus on today, is being positive and optimistic about the things that are going on in our lives as we start this August. So let's go do it to it. I love you. Massive energy to you. Another new month. It's a great day to get organized, restart. It is a due month, by the way, in our plan and our Get It Done Now plan. So focus on getting some things done and let's go after it. Okay, I love you. Go do it to it. And I'll be back with you tomorrow as we keep working, living untethered here on morningcoach.com.